Francesco Bagnaia has observed a significant shift in MotoGP, suggesting that the sport is returning to what is often referred to as the alien era, a time when a handful of exceptional riders, including Valentino Rossi, Jorge Lorenzo, Dani Pedrosa, Casey Stoner, and later Marc Marquez, consistently dominated the championship standings. In Bagnaia's view, the current season is starting to mirror that period, as a few riders are beginning to pull away from the rest of the field in terms of performance, much like the dominance seen in the late 2000s and early 2010s. The 2024 title race is still wide open, with Bagnaia trailing Jorge Martin by only 10 points following the recent Japanese Grand Prix. Despite the overall competitiveness of MotoGP, Bagnaia pointed out that a clear distinction has emerged between the top four riders, himself, Martin, Marc Marquez, and Enea Bastianini, and the rest of the grid. This was particularly evident in Japan, where the top four riders were separated by just 4.3 seconds, while Franco Morbidelli, who finished fifth, was over 13 seconds behind, emphasizing the gap in performance between the leading pack and the rest of the competitors. Reflecting on this pattern, Bagnaia believes that MotoGP is entering a phase similar to the alien era, when a small group of riders consistently occupied the top spots. Back then, names like Rossi, Lorenzo, Pedrosa, and Stoner were perennial podium finishers, and as the years went on, Marquez joined their ranks, continuing the trend of elite riders dominating the championship. Bagnaia sees parallels between that time and the current season, as he and Martin have been at the front of the pack from the very beginning, with Marquez and Bastianini closing the gap as the season has progressed. This consistent presence at the top is, according to Bagnaia, reminiscent of the era when the same few riders were always fighting for the title. Bagnaia also spoke about the intensity of the current championship battle, acknowledging the difficulty of maintaining such a high level of performance week in and week out. The pressure on the riders is immense, as even the smallest mistake can have significant consequences. He explained that in each race, the margin for error is slim, with only a handful of points separating the top competitors. This makes for an extremely challenging environment, where riders are constantly pushing the limits to gain an edge, but the risk of crashing or making a costly error is always present. Comparing the present to past seasons, Bagnaia highlighted how the current battle at the top echoes the fierce competition from previous years, especially during the peak of the alien era. Back then, watching the likes of Rossi, Lorenzo, Pedrosa, and Stoner fight for wins was a regular occurrence, and in many ways that's happening again now with this new group of top riders. Bagnaia noted that from the very first races of the 2024 season, it was clear that he and Martin would be primary contenders, with Marquez and Bastianini gradually joining them as the year progressed. This small group of elite riders has consistently been at the forefront, creating a distinct separation from the rest of the field. As the season heads towards its conclusion, Bagnaia envisions an exciting showdown, possibly leading to a scenario where the championship comes down to the final race in Valencia with minimal points separating him from Martin. This kind of tight championship battle, where the title could be decided in the last moments, has been rare in recent years, and Bagnaia sees it as a return to the thrilling head-to-head confrontations that defined the earlier era of MotoGP. Ultimately, Bagnaia believes that MotoGP is in the midst of a transition, moving back towards an era where the strongest riders consistently rise to the top, creating a clear hierarchy in the standings. This trend, he says, has been evident for several races now, and if it continues, MotoGP could be on the verge of another golden age of fierce rivalries and dominant champions. The 2024 season, with its intense battles and high stakes, might be remembered as the beginning of a new chapter that mirrors the legendary alien era, where only the very best could claim victory week after week. The MotoGP championship battle between Francesco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin is approaching a critical juncture, with 4 rounds remaining in the 2024 season. The two Ducati riders are vying for the title in what has become one of the most intense rivalries in recent MotoGP history. Bagnaia, the reigning double world champion, and Martin, riding for Pramac, are separated by just 10 points after Bagnaia's impressive double win at the recent Japanese Grand Prix. The 2024 season has been marked by dramatic twists, with both riders showing moments of brilliance as well as costly mistakes. Ducati, the dominant force in this year's championship, has played a significant role in shaping the competition, and its decisions in the final stretch of the season will be crucial. Despite speculation surrounding the potential impact of Martin's departure to Aprilia at the end of 2024, Ducati has maintained that both Bagnaia and Martin will continue to receive equal support through the remainder of the season. The competition has been further intensified by Ducati's decision to halt the development of its GP24 bike. The last major upgrade was introduced at Silverstone in August, focusing on aerodynamic improvements. This move has fueled discussion about Ducati's long-term strategy, particularly in light of Martin's impending switch to Aprilia for 2025. With the championship coming down to the wire, Ducati's approach to development and equipment equality has raised questions about the fairness of support between its two top riders. The battle between Bagnaia and Martin represents a rematch of the previous year, but the stakes are even higher as Martin prepares to leave the Ducati stable. The decision not to promote Martin to the factory team alongside Bagnaia for the 2025 season was a turning point, leading to his decision to join Aprilia's factory squad. As Ducati is poised to win the championship regardless of which rider claims the title, the internal competition between Bagnaia and Martin has become a defining storyline of the season. As the final races approach, the issue of machinery parity has been brought to the forefront. Bagnaia's recent comments after the Indonesian Grand Prix highlighted the difficulties the riders have faced with the 2024 Michelin rear tyre, which has provided excellent grip but has also caused instability in braking. This, in turn, has led to several unforced errors from both Bagnaia and Martin, contributing to the fluctuating points gap between the two. Bagnaia himself acknowledged that the new rear tyre has made it harder to control the bike under braking, increasing the likelihood of crashes, particularly when pushing the limits at high speeds. With four riders still mathematically in contention for the championship, the final rounds will be critical. However, regardless of the outcome, Ducati is guaranteed to secure the title, solidifying its dominance in the sport. Yet, the development decisions made by Ducati, especially in relation to their 2024 machinery, could have a lasting impact on the outcome of the season and the future trajectories of Bagnaia and Martin. The decision to freeze development has been interpreted by some as a strategic move, potentially aimed at ensuring Martin, who will soon ride for a rival team, does not gain access to further technical advancements that could give Aprilia an edge in 2025. Despite this, the Pramac team and Martin continue to compete at the highest level, with Martin showing no signs of being disadvantaged in terms of equipment. The dynamic between the two riders, both of whom have a legitimate shot at the title, will remain a focal point as the season draws to a close. As the 2024 season reaches its climax, the rivalry between Bagnaia and Martin continues to captivate fans and experts alike. Their performances in the final four races will not only determine the outcome of this year's championship, but will also shape the narrative heading into 2025, where both riders will find themselves in different circumstances. Bagnaia as the face of Ducati's future, and Martin leading Aprilia's factory effort in what promises to be an equally competitive campaign. Hey MotoGP fans, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with all the latest action.